Well, the head's at the machine shop, but I decided to come out here today and take the time to drain out the oil and diesel fuel mixture that's in the crankcase right now, and maybe I'll even pull the pistons today. I also wanted to see what the pistons look like on top because I couldn't remember from memory what they looked like exactly. And I wanted to see the shape of the top of them because I think I found some replacement pistons, actually a kit with the liners, the rings, and the pistons complete. And if I can get it reasonably, I might want to just do a whole replacement of the whole shebang there. So, that being said, let's start. I also wanted to get the serial number off the tractor, the serial number off the engine if I can today. But for starters, I'm going to drain the crankcase. Alright, so what I've done is I've just loosened the drain nut so it'll start dripping. And what that's allowing me to do is to get a good look at the first things coming out of the crankcase, which is clearly water. So that's not good. Now some of that is going to be due to condensation from the engine sitting for a long time. Some of that might be, I know that I had some coolant in those cylinders from when I pulled the head because I hadn't completely drained the cooling system. And right now I'm going to hang my hopes on that there wasn't that much actual water in the engine back when it was running, because that could lead to scored bearings and crankshaft and other bad things. Well, still going. Still water. Or, judging by the green tinge to it, coolant. But it's such a small stream that I'm not surprised that it's taking so long. And again, I'm not just draining it all out quick. I want to actually wait until I see oil start to come out. Then I'll close the valve and then I can take a look and see how much water was in that crankcase. Well, my stream has stopped to a drip and it's gotten darker. So now what I've got is I've got a water and oil mix coming out. The viscosity is thickened, so that's why it's not coming out in a steady stream any longer. And you can see as it drips down, it's got a lot of oil content in it. So the majority of the water and coolant that was in the bottom of the crankcase or oil pan has been drained off. So I'm going to stop the flow and see what I've got for a volume in this bottle. Yeah, I got an oil slick on top of it, so it's kind of hard to see, but if I slosh it around and break the oil slick up, you can see it's very green, definitely coolant. And I've got about that much in this jug. This jug is well, it's actually for kitty litter, so I don't know what the volume of it is. Yeah, 14 pounds, that's not going to tell me much. But it's probably like almost a 2-gallon jug. So that's a pretty good, well, I'll put it this way. Put it to you this way, a lot more than I'd like to see in there. I dumped it in the pan to get a better look. Yeah, definitely coolant. Well, just when I thought I'd seen everything, thought this drain plug looked kind of weird, cleaned it off. It's an old spark plug. You can see the old ceramic part left. They busted off the ceramic part and welded closed the bottom and made an oil drain plug out of that. Oh brother. Anyways, I just drained off the remainings of the crankcase. Came up to about here on this jug, and I actually brought another jug just in case, but I went home to get another jug and I measured, I poured in a known volume of water and figured out that when you fill this all the way up, it holds exactly 2 gallons or 8 quarts. So I've got 8 quarts sitting in one already, and it looks like I'm going to have 4 more, a little over 4 more here. So we get over 12 quarts of oil drained from the crankcase. Well, how do you like these apples? I just tried to take the oil pan off. I got all of the bolts out, and in the back here there's what looks to me maybe a stud. Maybe that's supposed to have a nut on it normally, I don't know, but it doesn't have a nut on it now because it's in a really hard to get location. That's probably why they didn't bother putting it back on. But the biggest problem is I can't drop the pan out because it won't clear that stud. I can't drop it low enough to clear the stud. It's hitting this whole support part right here, which comes off the front axle and goes to this big bracket. So the only way I can see getting that oil pan off is to take these 3 huge bolts out and drop the rear of this. Hopefully the rear of this bracket will come down low enough for me to get that out. I don't know. I'm looking at it and I'm wondering why it would want to swivel. In other words, for this to drop down, that whole thing would have to turn like this. Kind of like, and I don't see why that would want to do that. Oh, well, I guess I could loosen them. Not take them out all the way and just loosen them for starters to see what would happen. And go from there. Because that's definitely what's holding me up. I'm going to take note of the serial number on the engine. I thought this was a C169 engine. From what I had read, I pretty much figured all the 300s use C169s, but this block clearly says C-175 on it. And then I think this number that's stamped in the block right above that is the serial number for the engine, which it looks like it's a 3615. And I'm having trouble with that digit right there. Might be another 6, or it might be a 5. And then that looks like a 2. There's some paint filling it in. And then I don't know if there's anything after that here. Can't tell, doesn't look like it. That sure looks like that's a 2 that's got paint in it. Let's see. So I'm gonna go with 3615 52 or 361562. Not sure. And then over here you get the firing order 1342, and then below that there's these little screws, and there are numbers between the screws. There's a 3 separated from a what looks to be a maybe a 17, and then looks like a 0. So what would that be? If that's a date code, would that be March 17th of 1950? I didn't think this tractor was that old. I thought this was about a 56. Of course, I'm still thinking this is a 300U, but maybe I'm wrong. Alrighty. Well, I took 2 of the 3 bolts out and loosened the third one up. Back of the bracket's dropping down, but the front's not. I just tried putting a pry bar in here, my crowbar, and prying on it. As soon as I pry down, it wants to come right back up, which means that there's an upward force being put up on this right now. So that leads me to believe the only way I'm going to get that to drop down at all is if I jack the front of the tractor up and take the weight off the axle here. So looks like what I probably want to do is get a jack right here on this. If I can get that up, then that'll take the weight off this axle. Hopefully this axle will twist enough in that front part right there to allow this to drop down enough. But I'm not going to be able to do that today. I'm running out of time. It also occurred to me, I came up with another theory as to why I had so much coolant in the crankcase. I had remembered now that when I first removed this head, when I first loosened this head and broke it free, I had quite a bit of coolant because I hadn't drained the coolant off. I had about a lot of coolant that was coming out of the edge there. And I'm thinking while coolant was leaking out of this edge right here and coming out this way, that probably also coolant was coming out of these ports and running that way and filling the cylinders and going down into the crankcase. That's what I gotta hang my hat on right now in hopes that that's what was going on here. It kind of makes sense too. I mean, we already know that this cylinder must have been in pretty bad shape because they had that oil fouling extension, anti-oil fouling extension on the spark plug. So anyways, I'll know more once I get the pistons out. Now Originally I thought this was a serial number, but I've now come to learn that these numbers are casting numbers. That's why this number here doesn't match this number here. This is the number for this casting, for this rear section, and this is the one for the front section. The actual serial number is actually right here. There's actually a data plate right there. And on that data plate, that's heavily painted over, is my serial number. Which if I can clean it up a little bit, I might be able to just get a reading on it. It looks like it's a 18267, and then way over here there's an R. That's all I can see on it. So 18267. Hopefully that's the complete serial number, and hopefully that'll be able to help me figure out exactly what model this is and maybe even what year this is.